Tom, I think I came to this question just because maybe it's more prominent on my mind as time goes by about my overall strengths and weaknesses. But in business, especially, different than personal. I mean, everybody's taking personality profiles and you take one with your spouse. And if you have a weak area, you want to shore that up. You don't want to just say, hey, I'm what I am. If I'm a bad communicator, with your spouse, you should, communicate more. And how can you both have affirmative action towards each other? In business, however, as you well know and espouse and advocate, we're generally best to flourish in our strengths and get help with our weaknesses. I'm not ever going to look for making myself a CPA. It would be a waste of time. I'm going to flourish over here and get help here. But, just in asking and thinking about small business, which you deal with every day with so many people, to know that where are you strong, where are you weak, and what to do about it. So that was really the flavor of what I put in here. And I don't always do this, but I went first. I did the first comment and said, hey, I'm strongest in visioneering and seeing an opportunity. I'm weakest in the ongoing operations and admin. That was the comment that got the most consecutive responses of people going, me too. Jennifer Meisel, me too. I'm strong in decision making, weak in the discipline of mundane tasks. When we ought to come back to that, her saying mundane, but Renee Vidor, Kevin Miller, ditto this. Charlotte, same here. Bonnie, bingo, that's me too. Terry Johnson, he's a businessman down in Australia. He says, same as you, Kevin, great with client interaction, financial advice and strategy, and I outsource or delegate or automate anything I'm weak at, admin, etc. I guess I'm an ideas man and have more of a big picture mindset. So here's my premise I'll throw at you, or my thought on that is, entrepreneurs, small business people, if we look at personality styles, right? I think a lot of people think entrepreneurs are a certain personality style, which I push back on a little bit. But if entrepreneurialism is more of a risk, which we're going to get into here in a second, because a lot of people talked about risk, is a bit of a risk. There is a personality style that is more prone to go after risks. However, I don't believe that personality style is necessarily the best entrepreneur, the best at running a business. They're just more prone, to do it. So this right here, maybe that's why I got more feedback. We have a lot of people who are prone to see an opportunity and take the risk and go after it. And they, by proxy, all have the similar weakness of they're not so good at, and I'm just going to cover it all and say, they're not so good at maybe running a business. They're good at a good idea, starting a business, maybe even getting some traction, but they're not necessarily the best at running a business. What do you think?
Well, definitely, if somebody is more of a driver, more of a risk taker, they move at a faster pace. I think Michael Gerber talked about it in the E-Myth that a lot of times a worker will have an entrepreneurial seizure.
Yeah. I cut my teeth on that book.
Yes, where they'll say, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I'm working for somebody. They're taking the majority of the money and I could do it better than them. And they don't even respect me. I'm done with this. I'm going to go do this myself. And then they start their business. And then all of a sudden they've got payroll and insurance and all this equipment they've got to invest in, and they need a location, and they've got inventory, and they've got to figure out how to invoice somebody. And it's all these details. Mm-hmm. And so the person who's more likely to say, hey, I can do it on my own is also the one who's likely to start their own business. But here's the thing, all of those things that I just mentioned, they can be learned. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we know, Gallup talks about it, even in an employee situation, if somebody comes to work at a company, the happiest, most satisfied team members are the ones who take on the responsibility. They do every aspect of the job, even the things they don't like, that's not like a natural gift. And then over time, leadership recognizes it and starts replacing the things that are not natural, that they're not good with things that they are natural in. And so 5 or 10 years later, that person kind of has their custom job. Yeah. Well, as a business owner, if you're going to start your own business, you've got to think the same way. You're it. You've got to do it all in the very beginning. And then as soon as you start identifying those weaknesses and blind spots, as you grow, that's where you find somebody else to come in and help. Could be a
Yep.
contractor, could be, if you don't like to do accounting, you could outsource your accounting. These are all things that you can do. But the people who are prone to the seizure
Yeah.
and say, I could do it. Yeah, a lot of them are visionaries. A lot of them are sales oriented. A lot of them are creative, get her done types that aren't detail oriented, but that's not everybody's different. So it's not the case every time.
Well, and I do, again, I want to point that out. I've been ringing that bell for a long time that people often discount themselves having the ability to be an entrepreneur because they don't view themselves as the right personality type, the risk taker, the outgoing, the whatever. And I think that's an unfortunate misnomer that those type of people may be the ones more prone to go start a business, but yeah, they're not necessarily the ones that run a business. My fellow peer entrepreneurs that I know who are not that necessarily personality style, they're more detail oriented. They're better at the admin and maintenance. I see running more consistent businesses as well. But it's interesting too what you said. Hiring people to get help. Jennifer saying, she's weak in the discipline of the mundane tasks. I'll never forget hiring my first assistant years ago and realizing that these tasks that I so struggled with were not mundane to her. She was a rock star. She rocked my business. She enjoyed it, and she was so efficient. And it really changed my paradigm on, the value. It's kind of like the biblical aspect of the body of Christ. What's more important? Well, I don't think about my leg, but without it, I'm hurting. I mean, they're all equally, important. You did mention Michael Gerber. He wrote the book, The E-Myth, probably 35 years ago, something like that. It's
A long
been,
time ago. I
I
don't
think,
know what.
I think it's now The E-Myth Revisited.
Right.
And I haven't mentioned that in a while. And I don't know why, because it's a top shelf business book. If you have gone into business for yourself, if you're early on, actually, if you're in business at all and haven't read that, it's one that I would put up there at the top to recommend because, in that looking at, if I'm going to go to business for myself, okay, I talk about him all the time, Randy James, your doc, my co-host in the True Life Show. He, for most of his life, decidedly did not want to be a businessman. Today, he's a businessman. It's the title that best fits him. Though it's because he's called that because he runs a business. He owns and runs a business. So do I. I always have. But even to my wife's credit, she finally one time, it's probably 10 years ago, she said, honey, honestly, I know that you're, the consummate entrepreneur. You're not that good of a businessman. And at the time it was said in all love. And she's right. If you take business overall, I know a lot of people like you and Howard Partridge, who, man, you really know business overall. I'm not that good or knowledgeable in business overall. I have a couple lanes I'm really good at, and I get help with the others. That's what makes me be a quote successful businessman, because I get a lot of help. But I'm not the person you hire for your overall business. I'm good in a couple spots, and we're going to come back to that over and over. The point here is to know, let's say awareness is number one, know where you're good, know where you're weak, and get help. So let's go down through a couple more here, or more than that. Um, Mo Skelton, he says, I'm great with people. I love people. I'm terrible with numbers. I hate numbers. I will take risks, but I'm not good with marketing. Chris Nordyke, I'm strongest in the people work, weakest in the process work. Jessica Smith Moyer, one of our ZLC, Ziglar Legacy Certification coaches, she says, I'm strongest in personal connections, social media. And we had a bunch of people who talked about that. I'm good with people. And I'd say, like, I know with Jessica, her personality type, she really enjoys people and enjoys that. I would say I'm good with people, but it's not what gives me energy. She is one of those outgoing people. She seems to be who really does get energy. But again, good with people, man, those folks from an entrepreneurial standpoint are really good at getting traction. They're good at getting attention. They're good at inspiring people. But yeah, as we well know, think of it as an artist with people. They're really good at that. I may be an artist with an idea. They're artists with people. But then over here, just like artists, they tend to falter on the things that you need to daily. Back to what you said, Tom, they have that entrepreneurial seizure. They're inspired. They got an idea. They can go out there, they can make something happen. but they don't often think of, okay, what does this really look like day to day running a business? Jessica, for instance, she's a fitness advocate. She's a personal development advocate, but that's her, thing is physical wellness. And she actually went and bought a brick and mortar store or building, outfitted it, and it's a workout place. People come, I think mainly are all ladies. I think it's maybe exclusively.
Yes. And she's also doing coaching
Yeah. Now she is.
with the people who come, and she's also helping women, in career coaching and things like in the development of their own goals and what they want to achieve. Yeah, but her fitness studio, of course, the pandemic is caused a
Yeah.
lot of pivots. She's still having that, but she's doing well because she's adapted. So she's got a powerful community that she's built, and she's had to look at things from a lot of different angles in the process of all the things that happen.
And she got help. She came to, ZLC and got help there, and she's getting help otherwise, because she's not only, so here she is, she has this passion for people. She has this expertise in fitness and now just with personal development, overall, but the way she did it, she went and bought a facility. So she's now a landlord. She's taking care of the plumbing and whatever. I mean, the buck stops with her, and she's dealing with so much. She has got to get help. She doesn't need to be on the roof putting new shingles on her building or working on the plumbing. She doesn't need to be doing the finances. Where's she going to get help? But, as an entrepreneur looking at that, and part of my point with this too, I think was, and I told you that, Tom, was just commiserating with people. Cause I think we get that perspective, especially with the very vocal business people out there who do have a lot of knowledge on business. And we think, man, to run a business, I've got to know all that. And as you said, when you first start out, you got to wear a lot of hats, but to have the feeling of I've got to know all that is, long-term. It's like being a doctor these days. Can you imagine one doctor saying, whatever you got, I can help you with? Foot problem? I got you. You got cancer? Got you. Surgery? I can take care of that. Speech problem? Got it. I mean, we wouldn't believe that for a second. We have an issue. We have a foot problem. We're going to a podiatrist. If I have one, I'm going to a sports podiatrist that works with athletes. I mean, I want somebody who's specialist in just what I do. I'm not going to Randy. God love him. He doesn't know. Feet's not his specialty. He's a general practitioner. Same thing in our business. I think if we're going to rock it, we need to flourish where we're at and get help there. But that one there, if you're good with people, good chance that you got some deficits on the back end.
Yeah, one of the things you said right away in our conversation was you got to know where you are. You got to know what you're good at, what you need help in. And you probably saw my eyes avert down. I quick sent Howard Partridge a text. Howard has written a book. It's a great book. It's called The 5 Secrets of a Phenomenal Business. And so for all of our listeners, we're going to give that away. It's an opt-in download, so you can get it. We'll send you that, and you can put it in the show notes. But the link is pretty simple. It's just hang on just a second. HowardPartridge.com /5, the number 5, like not spelled out, just the number 5 secrets. So howardpartridge.com /5 secrets.
I'll put it in the show notes, but for you guys spelling it, if Partridge is PART, like part, and then ridge, like the ridge of a mountain, RIDGE, howardpartridge.com 5 secrets. Awesome.
/5 secret. Yeah. And so this is what I wanted to say. I want to give you my view and then what the book does. So when I think of a business, okay, so you're an entrepreneur, you've started your own business, it could be like, 12 hours old, or it could be a couple of years older. It's a little bit more mature. Either way, I look at it like an archery target. Okay. And as the owner, you're the bullseye, and your business is going to do as well as you do. And if the owner's right, the business has a great chance. If the owner's not right, if the owner has some challenges with relationships, with personality, with their physical health, with the way they think, with their finances, anything that we cover at Ziglar on the foundation, your business is going to be a struggle. It's not going to solve your problems. It's going to compound them. And so we always say that a great business starts with a great owner. Mm-hmm. And then the second ring of this target is your systems. And you need to build systems in 5 areas. And this is what Howard's book covers, the 5 secrets of a phenomenal business. The systems are marketing. And the way we look at it is that's just how you get prospects to show up. It could be social media, it can be door hangers, it can be direct mail, it can be outbound phone calling, it can be a sign on the side of a bus. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is that puts you in contact with a prospect. Sales is then how you convert that customer, I'm sorry, that prospect into a customer. So you need systems there. How are you going to take that lead and understand who they are? And then administration is the systems and the processes and the things there that are going to allow your business to run smoothly. Operations is how do you care for and support the customer once you've got them, right?
Mhm.
How do you take care of their needs? And then the big one, the fifth system, is leadership. And that's you. That's the owner. That's the person in the mirror. And so those are the 5 systems. And so you've got the owner as the bullseye. And then the second ring is the systems. The third ring is people. How are you going to develop your people? And here's the problem with growing a business is you're doing it all on your own, and you start growing a little bit, and you put some systems in place, and you hire someone, and you start to develop them. Now you're working in all 3 rings, right? You're working on yourself, you're working on your systems, you're working on your people, and then the market changes. And so that system you had doesn't work anymore. And so you go back and you tweak that system, and then suddenly one of your people leaves. And so now you got to run over here. And this is the dance. And so what we do and what Howard does in this book is you get an assessment that asks you questions in each of these 5 areas. And they will illuminate the things that, hey, you might be doing pretty well, you've got a handle. They'll also illuminate things that, ooh, you need to be thinking about that.
Yeah.
And in general, Kevin, when you look at businesses, they either need more revenue, which we define as profitable sales. Everybody hear that really carefully. It's not more revenue that saves a business. It's profitable revenue that
Yeah.
saves a business. And the other is the business might be leaking. There might be waste and inefficiencies and things that are dragging you down, not billing on time. That means your collections are off or whatever. And so when you look at your business, if you want the greatest return in your business, you got to figure out, well, what do we need most right now? Is it more profitable sales right now, or do we got to plug some holes around here?
Yeah.
But you don't know necessarily what it is that you're facing unless, like you said, you go and you say, okay, you're the expert. You've looked at 10,000 businesses. That expert, and that's what Howard is. He's our exclusive small business coach. He can probably in 5 minutes go, have you thought about this?
Yeah.
Right. And that's what happens. And so I love the variety of answers that we've given. And here's the cool thing. It doesn't matter what your strength is. It doesn't matter what your weakness is. If you approach it from a systems perspective and you're always focused on what is it I can do to grow the business, then you will either be the resource or find the resource or something in between that, because that's what successful entrepreneurs do. They become successful because they figure out how to plug the holes, how to grow the profitable revenue, how to think differently, how to put the systems in.
Well, I want to comment on that, Tom. In that aspect of getting help, of having things done for you, even I'm just going to boil it down to even the word delegating. Okay. So as an entrepreneur, if I'm going to be successful, I've got to learn to delegate. We all know that at some point. I mean, if you're going to grow at all, you cannot do it all. And we're here saying, you should not be doing all of that. I, however, want to, back to commiserating with those people who look at that and go, man, I get it, but have a hard time delegating. Now, one, we hear a lot of times about delegating from a lack of, or an aspect of control. It's hard to give up control. It's hard to trust other people. I've had that problem as well. Another one though is to delegate by proxy. You think if I'm going to take this, you just said it, process, procedure, whatever, and say, okay, I want you to do it. That frees me up to go do X, Y, Z. But for you to do that at face value, there has to be a process or a procedure for that person to do. I'm not good at processes or procedures, and a lot of things I need help with from an admin aspect, ongoing admin. If I do have a procedure, it probably stinks, is what I've learned. It's probably inefficient and fairly ineffective. And so, if you're the type of person who can create a good procedure and just delegate that, that's great. But if you find yourself in an area where you're struggling, then it also tells you what kind of person that you need to delegate to. So, for me, I'm going to have to find somebody. Well, this goes back to the Tim Ferriss 4 hour work week, right? Where you delegate everything to somebody across the world and pay them $3 an hour and wherever that is. Okay, we got that concept, but that was always very difficult for me because again, it assumed that I knew the procedure to tell somebody to do. I have historically, and this is just again for me, my personality type, my propensity, whatever, is I will pay more for somebody to say, look, this is the result I need. I don't know how to get it. I'm going to pay you, a higher qualified person, more. You figure it out. And that's where I am often blown away to find how easy that is. It's like my taxes. I can't believe that they do all my finances and my taxes. And I get I don't want, hopefully they won't listen to this because when I get the bill, I always think, seriously, it's only that much? Holy smokes. I mean, it's worth so much to me and it's so out of my league to be able to do. And of course they think that with me, that the idea, to do what I do, I'm sure would feel this, similar to them. Our strengths always seem minimal to us and somebody else's seem so amazing. But just on that aspect of delegating, if you're hearing some of this and find yourself saying, man, I've always struggled with delegating, you may be similar to me to where a lot of the tasks, the results, but you don't know the best way to get it. And it would be a waste of your time to try to figure that out. Hire somebody that's good. And we have more and more people these days. Well, even like you guys with you and Howard Partridge and the business, the boot camp, you're helping people say, look, if here's the objective and we have a process that works, even according to your industry. And this isn't just a showcase just for Ziglar and the business coaching there. There's other people. We've had a lot of people on the shows. They have great businesses. They do great business coaching, and you can pay to learn that process or even to have it delegated. And I'm more prone to not even to learn it at this point. And again, not everybody's at that place to afford, whatnot. You may need to learn it yourself, but I'm at the place now. Hey, this is the result. I'll pay you to learn it. Even if it's my employee, I'll pay you. You go figure it out and you do it. And this is how, this is the point is to get the result again. So just, sometimes if that delegating may be for you not to just hand over, this is how to do it, but to have somebody figure out how to do it or just to do that for you. And there's so many options. We could do an exhaustive resources list for that, Tom, but it's just a place where I see people who get that concept of delegating fall short as I did for so many years because man, they don't even know what to delegate.
I know. And also the idea of delegation strikes fear because
Mm-hmm.
we've all heard of the business owner who sweats and toils and gets everything going, but they're worn out, right? They've literally traded their life to get the business off the ground.
Yeah.
And then they have this brilliant idea. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in, or I'm going to develop, or I'm going to promote, or I'm going to turn over all of this for so-and-so to run, right? I'm going to delegate it all. And then they go about building the next thing or starting something different or take a break. And then they come back and it's in shambles. And we've all heard that story, right? Yeah, I brought somebody in and boy, did they take the pressure off. But, 6 months later, we'd lost 30% of our business because they just they didn't do what I thought they would do.
Yeah.
Right. And so we go about it a little bit different in any consultant or any coach in the business world who understands systems will say, look, as the owner, you've got to be responsible for putting in the system. Now, it could be that somebody on your team writes the system. It could be that you borrow a system that's already written. I mean, Why recreate the wheel if there's some pretty good ones out there? And we've got a warehouse full of all these different systems that you can put in. But here's what a system does for you. And I'll just use it. I'll just use Howard's service business as an example. Howard gets a report every day, and it tells him how many leads came in. It tells him how many appointments his team had. It tells him what the upsells were on those appointments and what his revenue was for the day. And guess what? He's been looking at that for years, and he can look at it in like 5 minutes or less. And he gets a check in. Well, it's really easy to see the trend, right? Because if your leads start going down, he knows it immediately.
Yeah.
That means there's something going on in marketing. So he can have that type of meeting. If the number of appointments start going down, then that could mean the quality of lead is off, or the person who's setting the appointment is off, or something happened. And if the upsells are trending in the wrong direction, then he knows that there's something with morale or training that's going on with the team.
Yeah.
On the other side of it, if they're all going up, he gets to make real positive, happy phone calls to people who are doing a great job.
Yeah.
But the point is true. The system was delegated. There's other people responsible for it, but he's not flying blind, right? He's not going to just, check in once a month or once a quarter and hope everything's okay. He knows the heartbeat. And so that's what a great business owner does. Is a great business owner understands, you know what, I've got to build the systems that I know what's going to happen. And then I've got to develop the people who can run those systems. And then I've just got to check in to make sure those things are going. And this is all off of a foundational. This is a great, if you're thinking about starting a business or you've started a business, a great foundational philosophy is this: build your business to sell and then don't sell it. If somebody comes from the outside and they want to buy your business and you are essential to making it profitable and running, you can't sell it for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they want it? They're just, they're just going to acquire a job. If you build it to sell, that means everything's systemized, everything's running. How much time you put in it is completely up to you. You get to do what you want, where you like to spend your time, but then you just keep it. And so it gives you the ultimate flexibility. And so maybe you've been in business a long time and you're like, you know what? I love this business. I'm going to retire in this business, but everything is in your head.
Yeah.
You need to start seriously thinking about systemizing it. We've had a number of those that we work with in our inner circle who have had accidents or had life-changing experiences that, because their business was ready to sell, they had the flexibility that made the most sense for them and their family, right? Because think about it. Let's say you have an accident and you can't work for a year. Well, you can have somebody else come in and operate it, and it's all systemized. It's ready to go. Or you can put it on the market and you know exactly what the value is going to be because it's turnkey.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of benefits in that. So it all starts with, where am I in my business? What am I doing well? What do I need help in? And then how can I start to systemize each one of those things?
Well, and again, from just a simple, easy resource, Michael Gerber's E-Myth is a great place to start. Now, if you want help, putting that together, of course, at Ziglar, you've got a resource there. If they go to Ziglar.com, where is that, Tom?
For
business coaching. Yeah.
It's
with
just
Howard.
Top of the page.
Top of the page. Okay. Well, and again, you gave the URL, howardpartridge.com, 5 secrets. If you go get that, you can connect with them there as well. Now, you mentioned a couple times leads, and I want to pull that piece out. Colin Martin here, he says, my perspective is from my job running a chamber of commerce. Most of the struggling business owners I meet have trouble filling the sales funnel with qualified prospects. They lack a system to systematically find buyers. Trey Ryder, he says, I'm strongest helping others and I'm weak in lead generation. And I wanted to break down sales, because you did a minute ago. You mentioned leads as getting people in that you can then sell. And there are a lot of people who are good with it. Man, if they're face to face with somebody interested in their product, they can sell, but they don't get enough people in their face to face. And we can see the other side too. People are great at generating leads, but they falter on the actual sale. Obviously, in both scenarios, your dad's book, Zig Ziglar, Secrets of Closing the Sale, is one of the top, if not the all-time classic, on this. But I think it's good just for people to realize those two people. And then let's go ahead and throw marketing in there too. A lot of times that all gets put there together. Marketing is how you get the leads in the first place. You got a 3-part system. You can be good at one of those and not good at the others, but those are 3 distinct areas. What is the marketing you're putting out? Is it generating leads? And then can you sell those leads? But to hit on that, just the leads, it seems like that is the one. It's interesting here, even in this question, that's what people came to. They didn't say specifically marketing. They didn't say specifically, face-to-face selling somebody who's interested. It was the generating leads. And I like that Colin gets that from running a chamber of commerce. So he's got, boots on the ground of seeing that these people don't. And I think, the people that I always think about it from artist standpoint. I've had a lot of good friends that are the real art. And I shouldn't say that because I think I'm a real artist too. But as you said, the hands-on, how did you say it? The type of physical arts,
Yeah. If it takes physical artistic skill, I don't got it.
I don't a whole lot either, but those folks, I've got a friend who's a renowned sculptor, and that's the consummate thing that they deal with. Man, they get the job and they pour themselves into it, and they do an incredible job on this, and they get finished and boom, and they get paid. And then there's nothing to do next because they're not generating leads and they don't want to. They just want to do their art. We got it. Now we're back to Seth Godin's focus on if you can't do the things around your in the business of your art to actually be able to deliver it and to keep it going, then we don't get the benefit from your art, and neither do you. And how many people, some of the greatest artists that never could get their stuff together to bring it to market. So back to this, generating leads. That's a business 101 question that doesn't get a lot of focus. What's your idea? Is there a place for it out there? And come back and go, how are you going to get people interested?
It starts with, you got to know your numbers. And I'll just kind of go behind what we do. We, in the Ziglar coaching system, our goal is to get people to attend a webinar. So this is how I know my numbers. I know how much money we spent in ads to get somebody to register for the webinar. So I know what our budget, I know what we spent, and I know how many registrations we got. Then I actually track how many showed up to the webinar. Then I track how many of those actually set an appointment. Hey, I want to know more. And then I track how many of those actually showed up for the appointment, because 100% don't show up. And then we track how many of those say yes right away and how many of those say yes over a longer period of time. Now, why are we doing this? By knowing all those numbers, I can quickly learn if our communication is improving or getting worse, if the market is getting tighter or more open, if we are focused or not focused on how we handle those leads.
Yeah.
And that's all. And so when somebody says, yeah, I just have a really hard time with marketing, my first question is, well, what are your numbers telling you? And you know what, Kevin? Usually they say, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Well, how do you usually get business? Well, word of mouth and this and that. Well, guess what? We also love word of mouth. In fact, we set things up so we get word of mouth. We're constantly posting things and asking questions and all those kind of things that kind of get that referral, that word of mouth business. But we always look at that as a bonus. That's just a bonus. Now, once you've matured into a market and your reputation gets out, it can be the most profitable piece of your business. One of the tips that Howard recommends, the most common thing that business owners don't do that they could do that would generate more business is to contact their previous customers.
Yeah.
They just don't let them know. These are all simple things. And the problem is is we can't remember all of them. There are so many things to do in a business, we can't remember all of them. But you know what we can do? We can build 10 or 12 systems, and the system automatically remembers all of that. And so follow up strategies and everything else. And every industry is different. How you market in each industry is different. If you're selling, machine parts for nuclear reactors, you've probably got like 3 customers,
Yeah.
right? If you're selling tennis shoes, you got like 7 billion prospects out there. I mean, and so you've got to understand who your customer is and how you market to them. And the good news is there aren't that many brand new, unique, never been done before businesses out there. Most businesses have either hundreds of them already exist, and you're going to do it a little bit different in your own way. There's a clue there. What are the successful ones already doing in that industry?
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of places you can go and look. And then sales is the same thing. I remember when I first started working for the company. So I had my 56th birthday yesterday.
Happy
So
birthday
yes.
again.
So 33 and a half years ago, I started working at Ziglar. And very soon after that, I went to a 3-day seminar called put on by Behavioral Science Research, and it was around sales. And the question was, uh, how do you sell more? And the top salespeople, the top 5% of salespeople in any industry, they do these 2 things. They make more presentations to qualified prospects.
Mm.
The top 5% in any industry, that's what they do. Well, then you have to define what's a presentation and what's a qualified prospect. Because where many people struggle in sales is they have conversations and not presentations. They're not following a sales process. They're not uncovering the need, asking the questions, building rapport, putting in some trial closes, some questions. Does this seem like a fit? Asking for the business, right? That's a presentation. And then a qualified prospect, that's somebody with the authority and the money to make the decision. How many people in sales waste a good percentage of their day making presentations to people who aren't buyers?
Yeah.
Right. And guess what? If you're making a presentation and they say no, that's a great sign, because usually the people who say no are the ones who can also say yes.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean give up. It means try to understand better what it is that they need.
That one there, Tom, is a pet peeve of mine. And I'm not going to go into all the details, but it's been a few years now, had a guy entice me to a lunch under really somewhat of a false premise. I was so surprised. And he ultimately was trying to sell me on something. I think he did the lunch. I think it was on the premise of picking my brain about something. And I was doing it to be altruistic and be kind to a fellow businessman. And he took me there and tried to pitch me on something that was so outside of it was an investment thing outside of my interest range, that if he had just asked one qualifying question, he would have saved himself however many hours. I think he even drove up from another town, and he probably spent 3 or 4 hours that day. The lunch was fairly expensive, all that. And I mean, one qualifying question, and he would have known not to even try. I mean, it was an absolute no. It was 100%. It was 1,000% no from me. I mean, I was just blown away that how can this guy have survived this long by not doing that? Because I have zero patience to spend a moment or a dime on somebody, who's not a qualified patient, for my own impatience and to honor them as well. And that's part of podcasting. I just did a mastermind for a guy's group on podcasting, and talked about that, just as far as a podcasting best practices is at the beginning of your podcast, tell people what it's about. I mean, from the headline to the description, and right off the bat, within the first 10, 20 seconds, let them know what it's about so that they can discern whether or not it's of interest to them, instead of making them, wait till you're 8 minutes in to realize, oh, I'm not interested in this. Because if we're truly there to serve them, that will make them more likely to pay attention to the next one. And maybe they are interested, and maybe they'll refer that one on to others. Now, everybody's going to hear that is going to know about some of the bigger podcasts where the host will drone on for 8 minutes about selling something. There are some celebrities out there, and they can defy best business logics because people are best business practices, because people are going to listen to them anyways. But for most of us actual humans that are not celebrities like me, that's a best business practice. Same thing is to, filter out the people that are prospects or not. Tom, I got a couple interesting ones here I want to hit before we're done. Chris Williams, he says, selling the work is where he's strongest. Telling people, no, I can't do it because of the work that I'm doing is my weakest area. And I really like that because it was one that was acute to me a long time ago, but where I realized as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, what's fun is you do, especially if you're around other entrepreneurs and you're growing your business and whatnot, you get so many opportunities in front of you. And it was back when we met, when I was running Free Agent Academy and had these people involved in so many business ideas and so many opportunities, that I found that I was having anxiety about the opportunities I had to be involved with so many people in their businesses, people I liked, opportunities I liked. And I got to thinking about that and feeling just, so much anxiety about, oh, should I invest in that person, in that opportunity, in that idea? And it finally hit me one day of going, you know what? I know what, and it was really somewhat of a spiritual, a faith-based perspective for me. God's called me to this. I know where I'm good. I know what I'm doing. Let it go. It was such a freedom to just say, I don't have to work. Maybe if there's one a year that I'm interested in, but I know what I'm doing. So to look at that, and that's one aspect. And then the other one too, is sometimes we're so hungry for business, we're in survival mode, that we feel like we have to take advantage of every opportunity out there. And back to what we just talked about, man, if I get an opportunity to pitch this anywhere, I'm going to go anywhere. And it may not be a good use of your time. And it really took me a while to get efficient with what I said yes to. And we hear that with, it feels like every guest I have on the show, when I talk about habits, and at some point they'll talk about learning to say no, because these are people who are exposed to so many opportunities. Tom, you probably have, a few opportunities per day that you could be involved in, that you have to say, that's really good, but I'm going to say no, because I've got really something great that I know what I'm supposed to be doing over here, and to stick with that. So that, say no, but that's big propensity there.
Yeah, I got one of my mentors, Bob Teedy. We had breakfast a couple of years ago, and he said, "How are you doing?" And I said, "Man, I'm doing good. Business is good, but I'm overwhelmed." And so Bob has this great follow-up strategy. He says, "Tell me more." So everybody listening, the great follow-up question is, "Tell me more."
It is. Nobody who says that. They're always waiting to jump in with their next idea. They don't ask for more from you. Yeah.
So he says, "Can you tell me a little bit more about that?" And I said, "Well, it's just so many things going on, and this overwhelm is really kind of weighing me down." And then he said, another great follow-up question, "Well, can you tell me a little bit more?" Isn't this awesome? So I say, well, so my personality is, I'm an S, right? I don't like to disappoint anybody. And I said, "Bob, the thing is people are bringing me great ideas. And as soon as they explain it to me, I know it's a great idea, but I feel the burden on my shoulders because I just don't have the bandwidth to do it." And then he says to me, and this is great, he goes, "Oh, Tom, it's because you're asking yourself the wrong question." He says, "Don't ask yourself, how do I do this? Your first response should be, who's the best person to do this?" He said, "Tom, most things that land on your desk, it's not for you to do, it's for somebody else to do." And boy, what a great way when somebody says, "Hey, I want to meet with you to share an idea that I think you might be interested in." If your whole mindset is, "Hey, I'll listen to see who the best fit to go and do. If I think it's a good idea, who's the best fit?" Because let me just tell you, the longer I do what I do, the more I've decided to stay in my lane,
Yeah.
right? The more I've decided to stay in my lane. And so that's an entrepreneurial, man, that's a hard lesson to learn is because, especially when we're in the exciting launch phase or building of something new and we want to have our hands in everything and you have to in the beginning. But as you go and you start looking at the assessment that we do and you start understanding the different areas and what am I good in and what am I not good in. One of the questions we always ask our people is we'll say, okay, here are the 5 areas, and we'll talk about the 4 main areas of marketing, sales, operations, and administration. And we say, okay, if you're gonna give, if as the owner, if you're gonna delegate or turn over one of these areas, which one should you do first?
Mm.
Which one should you turn over first? And the hands will go up in the room and they'll all be different, except for they'll be consistent. The one that you're the worst at,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the one that you can replace with someone else at a much lower rate than what you're earning up here,
Yeah.
right?
One of the things you said there, Tom, about who is the best for this. Yeah, I'll go meet with you and because it may not be not trying to be everything. I It's important topic to me because I think we're growing past that point of the propensity of a coach, of a consultant, of a leader, expert, author, whatever, speaker, of trying to be everything for everybody. That if you're it's the bane of coaching, I think, to some degree, that if you're known as a coach and you can help people here, it's tempting to feel like you have to come off as you know a lot about everything. And I think, for one, people don't believe it as much anymore. Back to the specialist, we talked about that at the top of the show. The doctor, we don't believe a doctor who says I can help you and cure you from everything. We want the specialist. That I think we're better off in coaching to adopt that, as you said, stay in your lane. But back when I was doing a lot of coaching and consulting, I learned that lesson and learned also that people will pay me to help them find those. I don't even have to say that. Look, I will help you. Let's take business. You want to grow your business? All right, come to me. I'll be your business coach and I'll help you in the areas that I know I can help you with. In the areas that I can't, I will I'll guide you to the best resources out there. And people are happy to do that because if they trust you in one area, they will trust you in another. Michael Hyatt, who we've had on the show 3 times, the Ziglar Show, is a great curator. He's known for that. People go to him not because he's the know-it-all in every area, but he will say, look, here is the best resource, the person, the product, the service, whatever. So you can be a trusted advisor in in curating in that area too, as opposed to trying to come off like you can help everybody in every area yourself. Tom, I got one more. Michael Ida here, he says, I'm strongest in communication and integrity. My weak link is patience. I'm ready to go, go, go. And many people are slow, slow, slow. I like that because I like things to happen fast, man. If I've got an idea, I want to do it all yesterday. And I love being an entrepreneur for that reason, because I can act on things right away. So I'm going to give kudos to entrepreneurialism for, man, if you're an impatient, you like things to happen, it's a great place to be. And it's going to be frustrating as well, because you're going to pull the trigger on things. And unless you can do everything yourself, you're going to wait on other people. And I've found that it's also the place where I have to grow a lot of patience. It's a double-edged sword in that. Right now, as you are, Tom, I'm in the book writing process. And now I have given, because I went with a traditional publisher, I have given away some control. They do not move as fast as I move. And I'm stuck there. I don't have to be. I got options. I can go over here, but obviously they had some value that I wanted to align with. But oh my goodness. So I find, yeah, it is a double edged. Overall, I feel like I get to run and do what I want fast. But oh my goodness. If you're going to grow, especially as we started off the top of the show talking about delegating, getting other people involved, you are going to have to learn patience as well. So I think that there's a good and a bad, the yin and the yang to patience as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. And I would, I remember I was working with a good friend, Kerry Lowe, and he's one of our speakers. He's out of Mexico, and it was at a point in his career where he wanted to move up in the organization, and he had the track record, everything, the credentials. He was probably more qualified than the other people. And this is a number of years ago at a place that he's since then left. But he said, I want to get the promotion. I want to get this title. And I go, man, that's fantastic. I said, but you realize that it's no guarantee. People do weird things. You don't have control over it. All you can control is what you do. So we kind of talked about, in order to get that promotion, what would he need to do to demonstrate to leadership that he was ready to do that, right? And basically, it was a great conversation. It was really simple, but I didn't want him to judge his success or failure on getting the promotion on how well he did, because ultimately, whether it's being patient or having control, he had no control over that decision.
Yeah.
All he could do was put himself in a position. So as a business owner, on the patience thing, I think it's extremely important that we look at the activities that we can go fast on, that we do have control over, that we can do every day. And we fill our day with, the termite formula, just constantly taking the little bites that move us towards our purpose.
Yeah.
And then the things that we don't have control over, we kind of timeline it out and we say, okay, what kind of inputs do I need to make sure that I'm investing the right amount of time to get the decision when I need the decision. So, we don't call the bank, every hour on the hour until our loan's approved, right? We probably send an email or make a phone call for an update once a week while they're, right? It's just hard. It's hard to do that, but we've got to understand we've done all we can do. And then we do and then we don't have control over it. Then we got to go invest our time on what we do have control over.
Yep. Well, hey, I like the topic. I appreciate everybody. We had so many people who responded, and I didn't get through half of them, but I hit some of the highlights that I think are relevant. If you want to go see the rest of them, this was a Facebook post that I put on my personal and the business, the Kevin Miller CO page. It was January 28th, 2021. You can see a lot of people commiserated back and forth on that, but man, good topics as you do, Tom. I love being an entrepreneur, and I'm more and more aware of where I'm strong, where I'm weak, and getting help. So,
yeah. Kevin, I have a confession for you.
Tell me.
I'm having a lot more fun as an entrepreneur now that we've put some systems in. And I am focused in on my strengths.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so one last word for our podcast world. Anybody can hold me accountable to this. Kevin, I've figured out the secret to writing a book.
Okay.
Okay.
Do tell.
So here is the secret. I have a deadline coming, and this book has it's not that I haven't spent countless hours on brain power figuring out how the book's going to go, but getting it onto paper has been quite the challenge. And in the world of distraction, it's pretty easy to sit down to write and have the squirrels be running in your office everywhere.
I love squirrels. Yeah.
Okay. So this is day 4. So I'm on day 4 out of 40. Okay. I write 1,000 words for the book before I eat.
Nice.
So no food. And I don't know about most people, but that has been proven to be a motivator.
I'll raise my hand. That's one of my top motivators.
So a lot of times we ask about habits. So my morning routine has changed a little bit. I get up, I check stuff, I have my devotional, and then I put the distractions away and I get my 1,000 words in. 4 for 4. I'm on a roll. And so everybody check in, let me know how we're doing, or ask me how I'm doing.
All right.
but 40,000 words in 40 days, that gives me 10,000 extra. I'm already over halfway there. But it's really interesting what happens when you break it down and make it so simple.
Yeah.
So if, if I lose 30 pounds, then that means I've probably missed my deadline.
That's awesome. All right, brother. Thanks.